By now, all of us have known about the homegoing of Billy Graham. We're celebrating his life and remembering the rich reward that he has now in heaven, but also the historic legacy that he leaves in a personal and heartwarming way. I could give you a long testimony about Billy Graham. You don't need to hear that. You know that he's written 33 books, one of them being his autobiography, Just As I Am. We recognize that as being the hymn sung at so many of his crusades through the years. The last time I saw him publicly was in 2005. Pam and one of our daughters, Allison, and I went to Manhattan or New York because the crusade was in the Queens. Originally it was to be in Central Park and then Madison Square Gardens there in Manhattan, but they had to move it to the Queens out to Corona Park. Billy Graham drew something like 264,000 people in attendance over about 4 days. He was weak and frail, and even though in that kind of condition, his voice, weakened by age, his mind was not as rapid and thinking, yet the message of the gospel was just as clear. My testimony about Billy Graham is that I think he represents three vital characteristics by which we all ought to live. These are attributes of the faith. First, I would simply say he was a man of fidelity, faithfulness to the gospel. When some turned to distractions and were derailed in their ministries, Billy Graham just pressed on. He was not a perfect man. He had some challenges in life, like all of us do. But due to his fact of being faithful to the cause of Jesus Christ, he was able to get through it. He was a man of integrity. He let it be known that he lived by certain guidelines and stipulations in his ministry, and he expected everyone around him to do the same. He had an impeccable pedigree of integrity. For that, we can be grateful. Also, I'm reminded that he was a man of humility. He preached to more than 210 million people in his lifetime, wrote 33 books, and yet he's just a humble preacher from North Carolina. His legacy lives on. These attributes really represent a role model worth emulating. As we remember him and as we celebrate his life, let us do so remembering one day in his young life, he came to Jesus just as he was. And that's the way we do too. Then Jesus makes us who we are in him.